what does the other side of healing look like? Why should people want to chase this process for themselves?
So I'm not a big fan of the SH word. I call it the SHOULD. I'm all about follow your curiosity, your intrinsic motivation. So if you're doing it because you think you're supposed to, then you're not going to last very long. So if you're feeling excited about feeling healthier and happier, that seems worth doing. Slash, if you're sick and tired of not feeling healthy and happy, if you're sick and tired of compulsively working, not spending time with your kids, or having stuff come up with your spouse, right? Or you don't believe in yourself when it comes to following your dreams or whatever. If you're tired of that, I would look, I'm just a guy in a podcast, but like, I think there's a lot of fruits, man. My company is called Human Liberation because there's a feeling I hope that invokes where like, who doesn't want to feel liberated? So connect to that. That's why when I connect with clients, the first thing we talk about is what is it that you desire in life? Let's paint a picture for your dreams and desires. That's what really matters. And what really matters is feeling free of the crap, feeling free of the suffering.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Journey to Legacy. My name is Wayne Veldsman. I'm excited to bring you today's guest, Mr. Joel Bein, the founder of Human Liberation, actually a coaching company like no other. Joel is helping entrepreneurs to permanently eliminate self-doubt and mental blocks without therapy, without traditional methods, actually eliminating self-blocks and self-doubt so rapidly that in today's episode, stick around towards the end, he shares an example where we did one of these limiting belief clearing sessions. There's so much other actionable advice and stories in this episode. I know you're going to love it. Without any further ado, we'll hop on in with Mr. Joel Bein of Human Liberation. Joel, thanks for being here, my friend.
My pleasure.
I love how right from the get-go you were telling me that you sort of take this perspective of uncoaching. I mean, there's so many coaches in this world. Define to us, what do you mean by uncoaching?
Yeah, totally. There's so many personal growth approaches that are additive, and I'm interested in subtracting. So we have podcasts, we have books, we have seminars, we have affirmations, we have meditation apps, we have this booming self-help industry. Yeah. And yet we still have 87% of entrepreneurs and founders are struggling with at least one mental health issue. 50% have anxiety. So I'm interested in what is the cause of that at the root and sort of unlearning the root cause. And what I've come to realize through all my journey is that the core root cause is in the subconscious mind, the parts of us that have core belief structures, beliefs, stories that were created growing up, typically. The stories about self, the stories about success and business, and the stories about money, and stories about men or women, stories about what it takes to that stories about work ethic. And there's all these stories that we learn, and so that becomes the foundation for all the negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative behaviors. And so we actually pluck out the dandelion at the root and we pull out the belief, then those disappear. So let's just subtract the things that get in the way. So I can go more into that, but that's the unlearning idea.
I like it. So when you say unlearning, right? It is the incorrect things we learned oftentimes as children that now later in our life are still holding us back, essentially.
Yeah. So let's just bring it to more of a day-to-day example of like you're a founder, you're going through your day, your week, and you might have a certain physiological experience. You might have like racing heart, or you have like this anxiousness, or you have thoughts in your head, right? We call this the inner critic. And these thoughts that are saying like, you need to work more. Or like, who do
Mm.
you think you are, man? And that sort of imposter syndrome. You think you can build this business? You think you're going to dream that, but you're going to make 7-figure business? Really? That type of voice, that we normalize that. And we also say, this is the premise that I question, that almost no one's questioning. We say that the inner critic is part of the human condition, that this voice is just the way it is. And so essentially all self-help industry is devoted to managing this voice.
Mm.
But I want to go further. I want to know, where did this voice come from? Okay, so different example that's more mundane. If you have a belief in the subconscious mind, dogs are dangerous,
Right.
right? Let's say you were 7 years old and you had an incident and a dog jumped on you or whatever, and you just create, as a child, you're trying to make sense of things. You create a story so that you stay safe and so that you can make sense of it, get clarity about what happened, unless someone actually helps you process that experience. But usually that stuff gets stuck in the body, the emotions and the thoughts get
Mm.
stuck. And so we're trying to make sense of it and we're trying to stay safe for the future. So we just believe dogs are dangerous and we have this fear that's stuck in our body. And so then you grow up and you're 25, you're 35, and then you're going around and you go to the park and you see a dog, and at the conscious level, you're like, oh yeah, dogs are furry and I like playing with dogs and look, they're so happy. But there could still be that deep part of you
Yeah.
that has the automatic involuntary response of fear and anxiety. So there's still this automatic thing. And then there's like, oh wait, I gotta get away. Oh wait, don't get too close. Right. And so
Mhm.
these beliefs are actually the root of the thoughts in our head and the emotions in our body. And then by extension, the behaviors, then we choose to not go closer to the dog. And that's all involuntary. And so that's the issue. So when it comes to the self-doubt or anxiety or fear of failure and these types of patterns, um, if you have beliefs like, I'm not worthy of success, because when you were a kid, dad was yelling at you about your report card or whatever the case may be, and you're trying to make sense of that. And so you create a story, and all the love and compassion I sent to that little child in you, you try to make sense of that and you put it on yourself because you need to stay attached to your caregivers. And then that belief gets wired in and the emotions get wired in.
Mm.
And then you're trying to grow your business or whatever. And that's when the inner critic comes online with these harsh thoughts. But that's because the inner critic believes something about you.
Yeah.
So when we can actually let go of the story, which we now can with this really innovative approach, we can completely let go permanently, very rapidly, of stories in the subconscious. Then the thoughts disappear, the emotions disappear.
You know what's interesting to me is that this idea that there is something from often our childhood, right, in our subconscious that's holding us back. If we don't know what it is, right, how can you help us to explore and find a memory that we possibly don't even know exists, which is thus holding us back?
Yeah. Yeah. With this approach, which I've started to just call it belief liberation. That's my newest
Nice.
phrase for it. And
Belief liberation.
it's actually not necessary to know what the memory is up front. So the way I work with clients is, people come to me with a pattern.
Mm.
And let's say that's money anxiety. I had a client who he's a sales coach. He's making a good amount of money on paper,
Mhm.
but he's coming to me telling me on day one that his money anxiety is 10 out of 10. And so I'm not going to go coach him on how to change his financial situation. That's not my role. I'm interested in the cause of that money anxiety is below that. It's in the subconscious mind. So we start with that anxiety, and then I just ask the anxiety to tell us more. right? If anyone's seen the movie Inside Out 2, the Pixar, have you seen that, Wayne?
I haven't seen it now.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good because it really gets in that movie. They get down to how the beliefs are the root. And so they don't fully get into it. Hoping Inside Out 3, they can consult me or something. But anyway, uh, there's a character in the movie that's representing a part of. There's an 11-year-old girl, Riley, and then, or I guess she's 14 in this one, in the second one. She's 14, and then she has these different characters in her head, and these are the different parts of ourselves, and they're different emotions. So she has like fear and sadness and joy and disgust and grumpy, or and then there's a new character comes in called anxiety. Right. So that's a character that's trying to help her out. Right. So anyway, what I'm interested in when I work with clients is, what does that anxiety want to tell us? What's going on? Tell us more about what you're needing, what you're believing, what you're concerned about. And that's just kind of the trailhead, right? At the top of the trail is, I have anxiety when I look at my bank account, right? 10 out of 10 anxiety. And then we get curious about, we ask, where do you feel that in your body? Right. And if that, okay, I feel that in my chest. If that part of me could speak, what would it say? Right. Oh, okay. I'm worried that my family's not going to be able to, have a good standard of living. Okay. Thank you. Now, I'd love to hear more about that. Why do you believe that? Why are you worried about that? And we go a little deeper down that trail.
Mm.
And then it's all about finding the root belief. It's finding the most important beliefs. And so with money, and I remember this one was with this particular client, this is one of the big ones we pulled out, was simply a core belief he had, was the way to be safe and secure is to have money.
Mm.
He believed that deep down, 9 out of 10 or something, and strength was how heavy it felt. People listening can tune in. Do you
Yeah,
feel anything in your body when you just say that to yourself? If it feels heavy at all, that means you believe it deep down. If it feels nothing, if it feels silly, if it feels foreign, then you don't believe it. But
sure.
so that's kind of the process a little bit. We go into that trail and we find what are the beliefs. And so yeah, with this client, I mean, we basically just he just showed up an hour a week for 12 weeks, and
Mm.
we just went to town finding the beliefs.
Mm.
And then each belief takes about 10-15 minutes to actually liberate it, and then it's gone
Mm.
forever. Like Santa isn't real, it's just gone. It's amazing.
Wow.
Every session's a big breakthrough. I know it sounds like it's too good to be true, but it's just real. And then
Yeah.
as we pull more and more beliefs or that are related to money, related to self, that are
Mm.
causing the anxiety, then the pattern shaves down. And at the end of that 12 weeks, he told me that we were at 0 out of 10 in the strength of that pattern. That's what he told me. It was just mind blowing.
That is absolutely mind blowing. It's interesting to me to hear that it stems a lot from anxieties, right? Is what you're saying. Is that like that is an emotion that you're going to dive deeper into? Like, okay, where are you feeling it? Why are you feeling it? Like, what are your thoughts behind it? And that helps you to sort of liberate these feelings, these emotions, the past traumas, if I can put it that way. Joel, take us back a little bit, right? Because understanding, dare I say, like human psychology and human behavior is one thing, but then knowing how to liberate them through this is a whole different one. How did you get into this industry, into this space in the first place?
Yeah, it's been a journey. Here we are, journey to legacy. I mean, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And for me, the seed of it all is curiosity. So I'm 100% self-taught. I believe that we can create our own path in life, and that's what I'm lit up about, actually, is coming alive and forging a path that's true to yourself.
Mm.
And that's what I've done. I've been the author of my own story in many ways, and it's through following that curiosity. And that started probably age 17, 18, 19. I just started asking questions,
Oh,
asking
wow.
how does the world work? What's going on in the world? Why are all these problems? Why are people so unhappy? What's going on? Just asking bigger questions as I was kind of
Joel, what
emerging from my teenage bubble. And then,
yeah, at
yeah,
17, 18, 19. Sorry, what fostered that curiosity to sort of break free for you to start asking questions about everything?
yeah. That's that's like the unanswered question for me. I don't know exactly, other
Interesting.
than it might just be my soul's purpose kind of thing. Because I just, ever since I was little, I was really connected to myself. I'm an introvert. I'm self-reflecting, but I never felt safe in my home environment to be my authentic self, to disagree with people. I became a pleaser, and it was not a warm, nurturing, healthy environment in many ways, even though there's things you could point to that are I'm grateful for. But it was like, but I maintained, somehow I maintained that curiosity and steadfast intention to not lose myself. That's like perseverance. And the thing that Brandon calls it, the will to persevere. And I persevered, and then I emerged as a young adult, and I kept asking the questions, and then it just kept watering that curiosity. And then I was getting this education degree, and I'm asking, how do children learn? What is the education system? What's the history of the education system? What's the difference between school and education? What are the hidden lessons of school? How do we raising children in this culture? Well, what's ideal philosophy for raising children as parents? All these questions, because I was looking at the roots, right? So this business is about the roots. This work that I'm doing with people now is about getting to the root. I'm interested in getting to the absolute root. So why is it that adults in the world are having all these issues? There are all these cultural issues. There's all these sickness in so many different domains. Well, let's look at how we raise children.
Mm.
That became just fascinating to me at age 19. Parenting philosophy, new questioning a school system, thinking about, and then that eventually just led me to this inner healing journey, right? Coming out of a pretty dysfunctional upbringing in many ways, and then just beginning to process that slowly but surely, and then not slowly but very fast and very actively and deeply, and doing a whole lot of different approaches, and then eventually in my early 30s coming to this approach, which a few other people are doing in the world. um, yeah, credit to Morty Lefko, Shelley Lefko in the 90s, sort of breaking through with this type of approach. Aaron File, my friend Jackson Sullivan, doing similar work. There's not many people though.
Huh.
And so now I've just found this to be the most powerful tool. And so I'm seeking to share that. So that's kind of like in the nutshell, the trajectory there.
I love it. Joel, you mentioned to me beforehand that you're still a little new to the show, but you started listening to a couple past episodes. The theme of curiosity, which we haven't talked about, right? That is arguably the number one thing that every entrepreneur tells me about how they got on their path. And when I ask, like, what is a trait of successful entrepreneurs or anybody that's listening, how can they try and become more of a successful entrepreneur? They lean towards curiosity. Is that a similar thing in your mind as far as like a tip that you would give? What's your opinion?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I just did a little workshop for some young professionals about the power of curiosity. This is one of my favorite topics.
Oh
Um,
well.
I absolutely am totally self-taught, and it's just, I believe curiosity is the foundation to coming alive in one's life and flourishing. Um, and that's a snowball effect that happens over time. But it's curiosity in other multiple dimensions: curiosity about the world, curiosity about people, curiosity about yourself, right? So when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to this deep psychological terrain, that's what I'm saying. Oh, you have an inner critic? Tell me more. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, well, let's not just stop at accepting that humans have inner critics. That's a belief that humans have inner critics forever. That's just the way it is. We need to manage it. That's just a belief. That's an assumption. um, let's get curious about the why and actually believe in a humanity of radical unconditional love and openness and wholeness, in which inner critics aren't really there. I mean, it's kind of hard
Mm.
to imagine, right? Because it's so normalized.
It is. What's
Anyway,
the
go ahead.
reason? No, what's the reason why it is so normalized? Where do you think this
Oh
stemmed
man.
from that we all just decided to accept, oh, having inner critics is an okay thing instead of trying to
Well,
find the root and eliminate it?
it's fundamentally fear, right? And it's is disassociation, which is that mechanism that helps us stay comfortable when we're in a
Mm,
traumatic situation, and we deny it and disassociate from it, and then we store it in the body. And then, so if we're in a traumatic situation, by the way, when I say trauma, I define that very widely, not just acute severe trauma, but anything. Could be very small, that you just experienced the world in a way that you felt overwhelmed, and that got
right.
stuck in the body
An
in time.
overwhelming experience is kind of an easy way to define
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah. And that
Okay.
doesn't get processed, I guess,
Doesn't get processed.
right away. And so it gets stuck. And then,
Mm,
and so the normalization, it's like, that's a coping mechanism of the whole culture. Right. So Gabor Mate, I'm not sure you know him, but he wrote the
no.
book, The Myth of Normal, a couple years ago with his son, Daniel. He's a trauma researcher. The Myth of Normal, it's this giant book all about this normalization. Basically, it's like, it's this, we're kind of, as a culture, I mean, it's shifting slowly, gradually, with conversations like this, but
Mm, mm,
the sort of normalization as a way to deny the sickness of the culture. And so it's just a way to stay comfortable, right? So everything we're doing as humans, we're trying to get our needs met. So there's no,
right.
like, it's not like a shameful thing. You disassociated and you normalize. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, well, let's just accept that. And you're doing that because you're trying to take care of yourself. You're trying to stay comfortable. And it can be scary to look at the shadow of what actually the truth is within you. And so, and the uncomfortable to look at the truth of how your parents treated you, or the truth of what the school system did, or religion, or anything. And this isn't to like play the shame and blame game necessarily about any particular adult who did things to you, but it is playing the honesty game, right? So
Absolutely.
that can be scary. That's why I believe it's really key to have compassion through the whole process, like have the honesty and compassion together.
Yeah. So it's easier for people to normalize things instead of actually getting uncomfortable and dealing with them.
In a sense, it's an easier for a part of them that wants that comfort. I mean, I'm thinking about, for me, the biggest thing for me growing up was this chronic trauma of my parents having really intense fights,
Mm,
just chronic fights. Well, sometimes they were super intense and severe. Sometimes they were just lower level, and then other times it was quiet. But then you were just waiting for the next fight to break out. So there's just like the sympathetic nervous system is just online all the time, and so you know that there are moments of disassociation for me when they're screaming in the other room, and because I'm just trying to have some semblance of comfort and calm. And right, I remember like trying to, when I was like 8 or 9, I'm just trying to go to sleep in my bedroom, and my mom's screaming at my dad in the kitchen in the room next to my bedroom,
yeah.
and I'm just this little kid. I'm just feeling scared. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling worried. There's this different, what I call a recipe of emotions, and I'm just there by myself, and my needs aren't getting met. Right, need for respect, need for boundaries, need for sleep, need for peace. Right, and so I remember, and this is because I've done so much belief work on myself. I've created in that memory a specific belief: my needs don't matter. That's where it all wired in. Now, I didn't do that consciously; it just happened. I found that belief later when I was doing the healing work, but that's what my subconscious was creating as a way to cope. Right. Well, this just must be the way it is. I don't want to go try to confront my parents when I'm 8 years old and try to like, I can't, I also can't even comprehend it. That's kind of
Of
why it's
course.
traumatic. Like, why are my parents doing this? It doesn't make sense. It's so overwhelming. Why are they doing this? Why? And I couldn't figure it out. And so, in order to get a short term sense of clarity and understanding, let's just create a belief. My needs don't matter. Oh, that's what explains it. And then that sticks with you until you go back and unlearn it.
Mm. We don't even realize that these beliefs are being created, especially when we're a kid, right? Because we don't know another way. And so our
Yeah.
brain is normalizing it, creating beliefs to protect ourselves. And so when you mentioned this book, right, The Myth of Normal, mentioned that of course it isn't a, dare I say, a popular conversation to have. And because of conversation like what you and I are having, it is becoming more normal and it's understood that we can get rid of at the root of these problems, right? I'm kind of curious about, I don't know, how we can all start to have the conversations to make it easier to have it. It's like, is it we're afraid of being judged? Is it because it is just so normalized? Like, where can we all start to make it okay to talk about traumas and actually healing from them?
Yeah. Hmm. I guess what comes to mind for me is that personal sphere of control and recognizing, well, regardless of what we as a culture think or say or do, what can you as an individual think or say or do? And so you get to choose right now, listening to this podcast, what is your relationship to the topic? What is your relationship to the topic of adverse childhood experience and so forth, and deep introspection? And can you begin to have the courage to open the closet door, even if boxes start falling out? Begin to sort through those boxes. And as a motivation, perhaps, for that, I would say that it's so worth it because I've felt so much joy on the other side, and I'm still continuing to grow and heal. But it's been such a journey, and there's so much aliveness and happiness and wholeness, and I've cultivated all these really deep, intimate friendships as a result of my journey and following my curiosity, following my bliss, and having the courage to turn inward and know thyself, right? And so it's sort of, for me, it's like, what's in your highest self-interest? If the point of the game of life is to be happy and joyous, then if you're denying truth about your psyche, is that going to be conducive to your highest self-interest? Probably not. So
Probably not.
would you be willing to, would you be open to taking a look? And then don't worry about anybody else. Just,
Yeah.
it can be hard though, because it can, if you start doing it and your friends don't, then that could put those relationships in jeopardy. It's a real thing. I let go of a lot of relationships in my 20s. It's a real thing. But
Yeah.
what's it's like, we have this one short life, man. Like, are you gonna look at truth about yourself? Are you going to create the most joyous life possible by doing this sort of self-integration process of liberating the parts of yourself and becoming whole again? That's your original state. And then you can just feel more free and all the good things. Feel at peace, feel serene and relaxed, show up for your children and smile with delight because you're not getting triggered by something that's not processed, and show up for your spouse for the same reasons in better ways, all the good things.
I love it. Or the state or the goal, would say, of life is to be happy and joyous, right? I completely agree. And we only have one life, so we better make the most out of it. So for anybody that's listening, right, how do we know if we have traumas or inner work that needs to be done that can essentially turn us into a happier, more joyous person?
Yeah, I mean, my short answer is you already know in your gut. You know if it's yes or a no, and it's pretty fast. Your gut knows if there's anything to look at or not. And then more concrete answer, perhaps, or more sophisticated answer would be just kind of look at your day-to-day life, right? And what
Mm.
are the actual experiences you're having internally? Just kind of taking stock, and that's the, like, beginning to notice is the first step to, like, disassociations, what happens if you're not being conscious, and then to sort of undisassociate to associate means to begin to notice, and then you can start going deeper and from there. So again, it's just people listening. can you just audit your life for a moment in terms of these different buckets? Let's take a bucket like overworking, hustle culture. We were talking about that before the show. It's so rampant in the business world, especially in the United States. There's all this sort of, you're not going to make it unless you work hard. Success has to be hard. Making money is hard. Entrepreneurship is hard. And then there's deeper beliefs. I've this whole work ethic thing of just working with clients on this specifically is a major pattern I work with a lot of people on when they're not giving themselves permission to rest. So there can be deep beliefs like the way to get love is to get approval. Well, if the whole culture is kind of saying you need to work harder, then you're trying to get approval, but in order to get love, then that's a huge core underlying belief. But anyway, the point is to look at what's happening on the surface first before we can get to the beliefs. How do I know if I have trauma? What's happening? Are you actually suffering day to day? Are you noticing these inner critics? Are you noticing physiological? Are you noticing? Let's look at behaviors that are coping behaviors like numbing through scrolling, through alcohol, through fast food, and so forth, right? But those are more like that can be more tangible place to start for people. Like, if you're scrolling because you're just anxious about payroll or something, like you're trying to distract yourself, right? That goes back to you're trying to get comfort. So that's the surface level thing. And it's almost like if there's one message people come away with is that the cause of your anxiety is internal, it's not external. So I think there's this myth, there are these beliefs like entrepreneurship, business is hard, success is hard. There's a lot of beliefs. Work has to be hard. Work is hard. Life is hard. There's all these beliefs that a lot of people in the culture just have. And so that's the water in which we swim. And then people just agree with that and they just absorb that and they assume that's true. And then they're like, oh, I have anxiety because I'm an entrepreneur. No, no. You have anxiety because you have beliefs in the subconscious mind that are reacting to the external world. You are creating your reality through your own beliefs, right? Now, entrepreneurship is different than being in a 9 to 5, sure. And there is more uncertainty, we could say, compared to like a 9 to 5 corporate or something. But that doesn't mean necessarily that you must feel anxious if things are uncertain. That's because you're reacting to that. So again, it's kind of like zooming out and taking a sober look at everything. Are you suffering internally at all? And if you are, then there's stuff to look at. And again, trauma doesn't need to be this big, heavy thing of this acute, severe. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just, when I was a kid, well, that's a whole story. But when I was at camp, I couldn't find a good hot dog stick to get my hot dog roasted on. And I was like so devastated. And I didn't get to have a hot dog. And that was like it was like a big moment for me, even though it seems like a little thing. And that created the belief I'm not good enough. Can you believe that? I mean, I didn't tell the whole story, but that whole thing, I created the belief I'm not good enough from a little moment. And that I'm not good enough, which is the most common belief that I can see in the whole world.
Yeah.
That informs everything in your life if you have that story.
Wow. Joel, you said so much awesome stuff here. I don't know if you can tell. People that aren't watching the video, I take vigorous notes. It's like such a problem to try and take notes while to like actively listen also. But how interesting that so this was actually a real example of a traumatic incident that happened to you, right? A trauma is an overwhelming experience that just gets stuck, that was never dealt with. The you at camp trying to find a stick to roast a hot dog and you couldn't find an appropriate one, which ended up
Yeah.
creating this self-limiting belief of I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
And
And
it's
so that's
so
why
interesting.
I want people to
Go ahead.
not like put trauma on a pedestal. Just forget the word trauma. Just call it conditioning. just call it
Interesting.
storytelling. Like you created stories to try to understand how reality is. That's that makes sense. Everyone does that. So just forget about trauma because that we have always a beliefs about trauma itself as a culture. The word trauma is scary. Like all the, it's just these are all just words. What matters is what happened to you. Okay. And then what concepts did you create? Like so the reason this, and we're hopefully gonna demonstrate this method in a minute here, but the
Yeah,
reason this
yeah.
particular method is so powerful is because we get down to the crux of the memory and we see that the meaning you made didn't exist in physical reality. So whatever the story is, whatever the experience is, right? For me, it was I'm in the woods. I'm looking for a hot dog. I'm looking for a hot dog stick. I'm bringing it back to this camp counselor to see if he can sharpen it for me. There's different events that happen, right? None of those events have intrinsic meaning. Literally zero. Events don't have meaning intrinsically.
Mhm.
It's only because you created stories on top of that. And so what we do in this process is we slow down the moment and we look back at the memory and we help you realize that I'm not good enough. In my case, I'm not good enough. I didn't see that anywhere at that camp. I just thought it in my head. I hatched the neurology. The synapses were firing, trying to understand why this happened. Right. And then we kind of start to, that's one of the main points of the process where we realize, oh, I actually created that. Huh. I hatched it. I made it up. That's empowering because now you realize you created it and maybe you realize you could let it go.
Yeah. You put it as storytelling. I love that. I think that's a very tangible way to look at it, right? It is, get rid of this word trauma, right? It is stories that you're telling yourself to be true. And that's it. Like I said, there isn't an intrinsic value necessarily to it, right? It wasn't a definition of, oh, if you can't find a stick to roast a marshmallow on, or what exactly the case was, that equals you're not good enough. No, but it's all of a sudden it's the stories that we tell ourselves. So I'm curious, what was, I don't even know if there was necessarily, but for you, what was the moment that was sort of a breakthrough that forced you to look inward at yourself in a new way?
The moment.
Maybe it doesn't have to be one, but that's kind of what's going on in my mind, right? Like, what was that breakthrough moment that caused you to actually start looking inward towards yourself and fixing these past stories you were telling yourself?
Well, here's how I'll answer that because I was looking at my deeper stuff pretty early in my 20s.
Mhm.
I was motivated to that and I was gravitating towards podcasts and books that were really instrumental in looking at the truth. But here's a more relatable story that really activated me in the specific stuff about beliefs. So, and this can be pretty common for people. Let's take the personal growth tool of affirmations, right? And so affirmations would be writing down in the morning or whatever the healthy positive statements like I am enough, I am good enough, I am creating the life of my dreams, people love me. Okay, this is a technique that I actually do find a lot of value in overall. However, if you're not focusing on the underlying opposing negative beliefs, then it becomes like trying to spray air freshener on the dog crap. So this is what happened for me. I'm doing all this personal development stuff in my 20s, right? And a lot of it was helpful. But some of it was not getting down to the root. So I was doing affirmations in my gratitude journal. And I remember doing weeks, every single day, I wrote, I am enough. And I just thought, well, if I just keep on saying it, then I'm going to be like reinforcing the story. And that's going to make this new neural pathway and all this stuff. And I'll change my mindset.
Mm.
And that's not untrue, but the thing is, there's still the dog crap underneath. And so I remember writing down this affirmation specifically, and then deep down just had this felt sense, this is BS. Like there was that part of me that's like, this is BS. And I remember, what was that, 2019, recording with my buddy Jackson that I mentioned earlier, that we would record podcasts about personal growth, and we were doing a whole podcast about how to feel like you're enough. We
Mm.
were just philosophizing about enoughness and how you can like tweak your mindset a little bit to view it in a different way, and then you'll feel better. And I mean, it was an interesting conversation, but it's hilarious to me looking back, because we were just circling around the dog crap,
Uh,
because the deep belief that I had was I am not enough. There was that part of me in the psyche, 10 out of 10 strength, that went back to one of my deep acute traumas. And I just believed I am not enough. And that's when once I realized that, once I found this tool, and I was actually my buddy Jackson, he actually showed me this for the first time, and we cleared that belief, I'm not enough. That was one of the first beliefs I did. And that was a legendary moment. Um, because again, like many of you listening, you might be listening and hearing like, oh, you can just clear a belief, it's gone forever, permanently. That sounds too good to be true. That sounds sensational, and so forth. And that's I empathize with that, because that's where I was, but I was also very open-minded. But I was like, really? We can just let it go? And he's like, let me show you, bro. And he walked me through the process. And I remember when we finally got to the end and it clicked and the belief cleared, it felt like this super heavy energy in my sort of stomach near my ribs. It just dissipated. It is like, I remember in old X Files, they had the scene where they're pulling the alien out of people.
yeah.
And that's what it felt like. It was just like, and it was just gone. And that was 4 years ago, and it's still gone. And I'm not enough doesn't mean anything anymore. It sounds like gibberish. I'm not enough. It doesn't mean anything. Um, so that's when that was a big light bulb moment. It was like, oh, we're gonna go all in with this. I'm gonna take my curiosity and go learn how to do this, and go do it for as many beliefs as I need. And it's been very I'm just so grateful. Honestly, just so grateful,
Yeah.
because I've just watched the inner critics be almost completely disarmed entirely with like all these areas of life. Because I've gone deep with all these different domains, with beliefs about myself, beliefs about work, beliefs about
Mm.
specific people, beliefs about my mom. Like I didn't talk to my mom for 6 years, but because I cleared beliefs about her, then I rekindled the relationship very fast. Um,
Wow.
because like clearing beliefs about women, clearing beliefs about money, and just watching the noise in my head, just almost all of it be gone, where I'm just in the present moment so much. And it sounds wild. And I'm not saying that it's completely 100,000% um, Zen monk over here, but it's like as close as I could imagine. And it's just, anyway, I could go on, but
Yeah. No, Joel, thanks for sharing, man. It's cool to hear that. Of course, like I said, it's starting in your early 20s, you're already about healing and like starting to understand
yeah.
yourself and your mindset, right? Because of the curiosity. But then once your friend showed you the way almost, and you experience this for yourself, that was that moment where you're like, no, I'm all in. Let me personally learn about this so I can help others. And of course, explore every single facet of your entire life. If you can explain to us, like, what does the other side of healing look like, feel like why should people want to chase this process for themselves?
Well, you can do whatever you wish, right? So I'm not a big fan of the sh word. I call it the should. I almost never say that word because I'm all about follow your curiosity, your intrinsic motivation. So if you're doing it because you think you're supposed to, then you're not going to last very long. So if you're feeling excited about feeling healthier and happier, that seems worth doing. Slash, if you're sick and tired of not feeling healthy and happy, if you're sick and tired of compulsively working, not spending time with your kids, or having stuff come up with your spouse, right? Or you don't believe in yourself when it comes to following your dreams or whatever. If you're tired of that, I would look, I'm just a guy in a podcast, but like, I think there's a lot of fruits, man.
Yeah.
It's liberation. My company is called Human Liberation because there's a feeling I hope that invokes where like, who doesn't want to feel liberated? So connect to that. That's why when I connect with clients, the first thing we talk about is what is it that you desire in life?
Mm.
Let's paint a picture for your dreams and desires. That's what really matters. And what really matters is feeling free of the crap, feeling free of the suffering. But it's like, so there's two, I guess I'll give you two prongs of motivation, perhaps. That could be a jump start. One would be you get to feel free, you get to feel present, you get to feel relaxed, you get to feel serene, connected, freedom. And as you clear out the head trash, that opens up the possibility of creating a beautiful life on top of that. Right? It's like the Zamboni comes on the ice rink and we're going to clean and clear all these scratch marks and dents on the ice rink. Now we got a smooth surface and it's nice. Right there. It's a nice place to be. And on top of that, you can go create new designs in the ice. Go create art on top of that fresh ice. Right? So there's like all this ripple effects when you clear away the debris. Now the plane can take off. And clear the runway from the debris from the runway, excuse me. Now the plane can take off to the 50,000-foot level of your truest desires. But if you're holding on, you're clinging on to stories like, I don't believe in myself, I'm not worthy of success, I can't do it, all this stuff, like just boom, 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 boom. It just creates all this friction. I'm going to change to one more metaphor, which is like you can use if you're going to drive your car, this is lots of entrepreneurs. They know how to step on the gas pedal, right? And they can press that thing and go right to 100 miles per hour. But for many people, there's still this emergency brake that's up. And so there's all this friction and there's all this pushing and straining as you're pressing down the gas pedal, which is your fuel and your excitement. That's great. Beautiful. Follow that excitement, right? Follow that curiosity. Go do what makes you come alive. And if you lift up the emergency brake, it's a lot easier and you can go faster and it's more efficient and it's more fluid and it's more flowy. And you can maybe even start going to new places you've never been before. So I got on a metaphor kick there. I love my metaphors.
Well, I like that. Clearly, metaphors make things so much easier to understand. And this last one, I'm so happy that you threw that in there. Right? Is figure out how to put the parking brake down. Right? You can floor the gas pedal as much as you want to, but it's going to still hold you back, and it's going to make the ride bumpy and uncomfortable. That if you could put it down, you're opening yourself up to new possibilities, is what you said, right? To actually feel free and relaxed and present and healthier and happier. Like, what an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah.
other side of what healing actually looks like.
Let me just insert that like I've literally experienced and I've seen people, clients doing this work, the actual physiological changes in the body, right? So
Mm,
the stored energy is released, like I've said. And so like I had a belief it's not okay to relax. And as
uh,
soon as that belief cleared, I felt my chronic back pain that I had for 10 years went down 70%, and it's been gone ever since. And it just, the body is holding on to the stories. And so like I started doing this belief work, and my friends are like, wow, you're standing taller and you're more open and you're more balanced. You're literally letting go of the energy. So there's all these reasons to go sort of into the process and cross the chasm. But again, with this tool that I'm sharing, it doesn't have to be hard. These are other beliefs that like self-development has to be hard, right? Or now we are going to be looking at the truth, so there could be discomfort in that. That's why I bring a lot of compassion and empathy throughout the process. And yet it doesn't have to be this treacherous experience, this this grueling, heavy experience. Typically my clients we just show up and we clear beliefs, like 3 to 5 beliefs every week, and it's just boom, boom, boom. We just pop those beliefs, and the breakthrough happens. And then it's a very simple Socratic questioning process with a little bit of emotional support there, and it can um, it can be quite fast and permanent.
amazing. Well, Joel, I'm super excited to experience it and to show everybody a little bit more around what it is, right? So before the interview, you invited me actually to do one of these limiting belief clearing sessions. And so would love to jump into it. But before we do, I mean, I just want to make sure that people can go learn more about you, connect with you, right? So I mean, all of the links are going to be below in the show notes, but just tell everybody like immediately, like where's best to go connect with you and go learn more.
Yeah. My podcast is the Joel Bein Show. If you want to hear more from me there, talking about new paradigms in personal growth and education and parenting and all sorts of good stuff there. And then just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll share more after the demo.
Right.
But just find me on LinkedIn, Joel Bein.
Perfect. Perfect. So we'll link below. But nice. Yeah, let's pivot a little bit and let's show an example, right? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. Where do we start?
You, yeah. So you were talking to me about before the show about a couple different trailheads,
Yeah.
about maybe not feeling like you're far enough along career wise
Yeah.
or something, and then something about
Yeah.
money. Which one of those do you want to go with?
Yeah. Let's um uh, let's go into the feeling of like not being almost the feeling of not being enough, right? Not being far enough along. It's probably like societal pressures of yeah, like not feeling like I've done enough yet, like in my career, in my life.
Okay. So I just want to put awareness on that phrase, I'm not feeling like, which is a very colloquial, common phrase, but it's interesting because it helps us recognize that there's this conflation of the thoughts and the feelings. So
Mm,
we're going to help separate that. And so you're saying you have a certain feeling, and then
mm,
there's a thought around, I'm not far enough along.
mm.
Let's go into that feeling. Where is that in your body?
Um, the feeling of not enough. I mean, other than saying that it's like in my head or my brain, it would be like a throat or like a upper chest type of feeling.
Okay. And how strong is that feeling? Scale 1 to 10.
Let's call it a six.
Okay. So if we had that part of you speak, this this part of your body, what would it say? What would it like to tell us? Tell us more. Give us more.
It's the feeling of not being far enough along. It's like a almost like a little bit of a feeling of failure or a feeling of disappointment that should be doing more, like could be doing a lot more, have done a lot more. Um, have I made the right choices? And yeah, it's a feeling of uncertainty, like within oneself, actually, within myself, of yeah, have I done the right things? Like, should I be farther along doing more?
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, let's give us a lot more information. So there's a sense of I'm not doing enough, perhaps, and I should be doing more. And so I'm pausing because I'm curious about like all the different beliefs that could be all contributing to that. So this we're kind of accessing what I call a belief cluster. So there's not just one belief that's contributing to this kind of there's this pattern of like I'm not sure I'm far enough along. That's kind of we kind of just quickly chalk that up as a little pattern here, but there's
Mhm.
multiple beliefs. And so just kind of getting curious about what those beliefs would be. Um, Let me just ask you this. Is there a sense, does this belief feel real? I'm going to give you a couple of beliefs and you tell me if they feel real. Okay. Does it feel true? I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
How strong is that belief? Scale 1 to 10.
A number popped in my head is a 7, even though I'm like trying to argue with myself and,
Yeah. Yeah.
justify that it's not true.
Yeah. Which is very normal. And that's your conscious mind that is chiming in because your conscious mind doesn't believe this. It's this deeper, younger version of you that believes it for some reason. So
Mm.
just want to say thank you to that conscious part of you, that conscious mind. We understand that you know it's not actually true. But what we're interested in is we're going to see if we can find this part of you that does believe it and we can liberate that part. Sound good?
That's great.
So yeah, I'm not doing enough is definitely worth clearing. It's a very root striking belief. But I want to check one more belief because you mentioned this word. I had an intuition. We'll just see if it's there. Is this is this belief true? I'm a failure.
I think so, but probably means that maybe to an extent, yes. If I'm not saying like, that's ridiculous. No, I've never had that thought before. And
Great. So
so it's
just checking
probably
to
a
see
belief
if
as
any
well.
part of you feels heaviness when you just say that belief.
The belief of I am a failure, a heaviness. I mean, again, maybe there is like some heaviness if it is like chest or even I don't know. I've been sitting here for a lot of hours today, Joel. So I don't know if it's in my back also, if I've just been here for too long.
Well, it
But
sounds like that might be there, but it's just a lower strength.
sure. Okay, sure.
And so I would just deprioritize that one because we want to find the most, usually just finding beliefs that are more like a 7 to 10 because they're going to give you the
Nice.
most liberation. This might be a
Nice.
belief that's
Sure.
at like a 3
Sure.
that
Sure.
could be worth clearing, but we want to use our
Mm,
time the best. So I say we
nice.
just clear this. I'm not doing enough.
Nice.
Before we do that, I just want to mention one thing we haven't said yet, which is that
Mm,
often people have meta beliefs about change itself. I actually usually work with clients right at the beginning on any beliefs about change, such as change has to be hard, change can't be fast, I can't change, nothing I do works, right? So people listening to this show so far, maybe you've had voices in your head that are like, oh, well, I'm not sure that's going to work for me, or I'm not, that sounds, that's too good to be true. That could be a belief right there. It's too good to be true. If you have a
Yeah.
belief,
Yeah.
because we get inundated with that message through the culture that things that are great are too good to be true or something. And if you literally could have that belief, that's this program up on your operating system that's filtering reality and having that's triggering the actual thought. Um, so I just want to mention that this change blocks thing is pretty important because what we're going to do here is let go of this let go of this belief forever. You ready?
Yeah. I'm super ready, right? And just to reflect that, right? So that idea of not being open to change, or the limiting belief that change has to be hard and has to take a long time. That's one of those thoughts that in my mind, I'm like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. It's like I believe in change
Good,
so
good.
much that everybody can change and should want to change. And once you believe that you can, you could change, then yeah, yes, continue.
Okay, so we found this belief, I'm not doing enough, and you're saying it's a 7 out of 10 strength.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's still kind of in that throat area.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to take note of that feeling, and then at the end of the process, we'll check in and see how that feels. Okay, so now just trusting your subconscious mind. When did you first conclude I'm not doing enough is true?
Is this like a question of like back in life? Like when do I
Yeah,
think?
just whatever memory comes up.
Sure.
When did you first learn this? When did you first conclude this is the truth? Because this part of you believes it is the truth. That's
Yeah.
why it's 7 out of 10. It believes it is true.
Yeah. I mean, I was not a good student in school. And I would study for tests and exams, whatever it was, and I would still like not do well. I actually have like a very vivid memory of one time where I got a D on some sort of assignment or a test, and I had to get my parents to sign it. And I was afraid to show it to my parents to get the signature. I don't know if I was afraid if I was going to be judged by my siblings, but I literally like waited until I was supposed to be asleep. Everybody's supposed to be asleep, and like got out of bed and had to go take it to my dad and have him sign this paper. Um, uh, that I was just like so embarrassed about. And yeah, that wasn't the only time where I got a bad grade by any means.
Okay, so this was high school.
This was probably earlier than that. It's called
Oh,
middle
okay.
school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. This is very unfortunately this is very common. This is
Yeah. Could have
very
even been in elementary school. Who knows? But
okay.
I don't even remember when I started getting grades. So,
So you felt this pressure to get a quote unquote better grade
yep.
and you were feeling fear when you brought home this D and you needed the signature. Okay. So yeah, well I just want to say first that it makes sense that you would create this belief I'm not doing enough because according to the metrics in that school system that more work is better and that'll get you higher grades. And that's the game and that's the pressure from the teachers and the parents and all the things. And it would make sense to create that to try to make sure that you keep up because all you're dependent upon these adults and that's the water in which you swim. That's what you just think the world is, that you know. So it just makes sense. And now I'm curious, is it possible, just looking at a few different interpretations of this event, is it possible that it's not the absolute truth I'm not doing enough, but rather the issue is about the school system, not about you, and not about reality at large. And so it was just you weren't doing enough for their standards in that particular system that's based on the grades and the extrinsic motivation and all the things. And that it was nothing to do with you and the actual world at large. It was just the system. Is that possible?
Yeah. Absolutely possible.
Great, great. Is it possible that just in general, sometimes it's true belief? I'm not doing enough. Sometimes, if you want to get certain size biceps, maybe you're not doing enough bicep curls in order to get a certain size. But that doesn't mean that it's an absolute categorical truth. I'm not doing enough in all situations forever. Is that possible?
Absolutely possible.
Okay, one more, what I would just call more of a compassionate interpretation here is that is it possible that these adults in this memory were simply projecting their own beliefs that they created when they were going through school, and they never took the time to really examine all of this, the nature of this school system and all these dynamics and pressures, and is again 0% about the way the world is and 0% about Wayne and 100% about the adults projecting. Is that possible?
It's absolutely possible.
Good. So would you agree that I'm not doing enough is just one interpretation of this event?
Yeah, correct. Yep, it's just one interpretation that I wasn't doing enough because it could have been the school system, it could have been adults projecting their problems onto me also, could have been tons of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, what we did just there was we just kind of loosened the tooth before we're going to pull it out, if you will. But
Yes.
again, I want to reassure this part of you that you get to decide if you would like to let it go as we go on. There's never going to be any pressure to let go of this belief. But are you
Mm,
open to continuing?
absolutely.
All right. All right. So when you look back at this memory, you saw sights with your eyes. You saw the paper, you saw the markings on it, you saw your parents, you saw things, objects, and people, right? But did you ever actually see the belief, the concept, I'm not doing enough?
That's an interesting question. I don't think so, but it's likely simply because in my mind, at least, it's something like school where the idea of, well, you didn't study enough, which is the reason why you got a bad grade. And so it's possible that then I did directly see this idea.
Or being very literal here. So the actual
Mm,
idea, did you see it with your sense of eyes? Did you see it coming in with sense data through the visual field, the actual concept?
no, no,
No, because you that's not possible because concepts
no,
don't happen through this visual field.
no,
You're taking in sense data, you're seeing people do things. Maybe you saw a school building and then you saw desks and you saw people sitting at desks and writing, and then you saw chalkboards, and then you saw things, objects, and people. You saw this piece of paper, you saw the signature line, the actual ink, right? But the actual
mm,
concept, I'm not doing enough. Is it
no.
fair to say that you didn't see it?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's switch to our another sense, which is our sense of feeling. You said you felt fear.
Mm,
So you felt sensations in your body. You felt the fear, you felt worry, maybe you felt anxiety.
mm.
Now, you felt these different sensations, whatever you want to call them. You felt sensations in your body during this memory. Did you ever feel the concept, I'm not doing enough?
Did I feel the concept that I'm not doing enough? I don't I don't think so. I don't think that's possible either, is it?
How would that be possible? Do
Yeah.
concepts happen in the physiological sensory experience of feelings?
No.
Right. So you had sensation of fear. We're just saying this word fear, even that's a concept right there. The concept of fear is different than the actual sensation. You following me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? So we're labeling the sensation fear. Even that's a concept, right? So with the actual, we just look at the actual concept, actual sensation in the body. Does that sensation in the body mean anything intrinsically?
No, no, it doesn't.
Okay, so you saw things and you felt sensations. You're saying you didn't feel this belief, you didn't see the belief. So where did the belief first happen?
In my mind.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You created the story, I'm not doing enough, and you added it on to the sense data. And then it all mixed together, conflated together, the story and the sensation. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you added on the meaning, and that makes sense. You were seeking to stay safe, I would say,
Mm.
because there's these implicit expectations about these grades. And if you don't abide by these expectations, there could be love withdrawal.
Mm.
You don't even necessarily know, especially the younger child. You're dependent upon parents to stay attached to them. It's a biological, like it's very wired in. That's what's allowed humans to survive all these generations. It's actually an understandable, valuable mechanism is to conform to those expectations. But now we're going to have a chance to evolve right now and break these cycles. And we're recognizing that you actually added on the meaning. Now, it served you at the time. Is it serving you now to believe it's the truth in all situations? I'm not doing enough.
Absolutely not.
No, because I'm guessing what's happening for you is, and we didn't really talk about the symptoms too much, but I'm guessing when you're
Mm.
seeking to relax, that there's some impulse to do more, or you talk about comparing yourself to people.
Yeah,
And, this enough thing, it's like, who even says what enough is?
of
Is there an
course.
objective definition of enough? But this
No.
belief has been there. It's been on your mental operating system, filtering, and then causing these different thoughts and emotions. And then you're not able to just be at peace. Does that seem accurate?
It seems very accurate. I used to tell people that I have what I defined as restless productivity. That yeah, the idea of
Mm,
of not doing anything is a very foreign concept.
yeah. Well, I feel you, man. It's been a lot of leaps for me on this over the years.
Yeah.
Um, so now I just want to check in. Is there any part of you that's opposed to letting go of this belief? I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough.
No, by no means am I opposed to letting go of it.
And again, I want to reassure you, just in case, and anyone listening who's tuning in, kind of vicariously through the process, is that when we let go of a belief, it doesn't mean that we can't use the concept in certain situations with discernment. So again, the
Mm.
biceps example, or any specific example, you might be able to still use the concept. I'm not doing enough to gain muscle mass. I'm not doing enough to satisfy my customers in certain ways. But the opportunity here is to let go of the involuntary, absolute story. I'm not doing enough in all situations, so that you can have freedom and discernment. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. So let's just put a bow on this here, and I would just invite you to perhaps close your eyes and just connect back to the younger Wayne that was going through this event, with getting the D and just see a little younger version of you and just let him know you're there for him with unconditional love, and you see him and you acknowledge that he was doing the best he could to navigate the situation, given the context, given the expectations, given his level of power as a young child. And just let him know that you're not in school anymore and you're not on this planet to live up to others' expectations, and that you get to decide for your own needs, your own preferences, what enough even means. Or you just get to decide there's no actual meaning. You get to choose what meaning you give. And you can just be in the present moment. And just let him know again that you fully acknowledge his efforts and you appreciate his efforts that helped you at the time. And now, if he's open, there's an opportunity to be free and to be in a state of more well-being, to be creative and to achieve, as well as to relax and rest and to flow through those states more organically. And just one more thing is just let him know that it wasn't about him. It was about that system. And now you're here as an adult and all is well. So just
Yeah.
let that absorb in, and whenever you're ready, you can come back.
Solid.
All right. We did deep work there. So now what we're gonna do just is to test. We're gonna clear the palette here. I'm just gonna ask you to say a couple weird random sentences to just flesh out the mind here and have a little laugh
Okay.
perhaps. So just say all elephants are green.
All elephants are green.
Does that sound true? No. All right. Say I am a flying giraffe with 3 wings.
I am a flying giraffe with 3 wings.
Does that sound real?
No, that one doesn't sound real either.
I love this part. I just get to make up stuff. It's fun. All right. Now let's test the belief. Does it feel real? I'm not doing enough.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel real.
Beautiful. How does that feeling in your throat? How's that?
Pretty much gone. I mean, if I try and focus on it enough, maybe I can give it a 2. But otherwise, yeah, not
Okay, and
not there.
yeah, and just for clarity's sake, what we did with that throat thing, we talked about you felt it at a 6 when we are just generally talking about this far enough along thing,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that's what I call the belief cluster. So there's other beliefs in that cluster that could be about similar topics. And then there's this specific belief in the cluster. So to clarify that, because I want this to be at a 0, this specific belief.
Sure.
Does this specific belief have any feeling to it? I'm not doing enough. Just say that belief.
I'm not doing enough.
Yeah, again,
I
you're
do
kind of,
so
yeah,
much.
at best, you're like Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Once you clear it, that's a very common reaction. It's like, wait, oh, I have like a successful podcast and all these things and I create and
Yeah, yeah,
you know, then you actually get this is where the positive affirmation can actually be useful because we've cleared the doo-doo.
yeah,
And now
yeah,
it's like, oh, I can actually, if you want, you can actually acknowledge the positive.
yeah, yeah. Like I
But
actually
yeah,
do more than
I've
enough. I do a ton.
yeah, yeah. Tell me more about how you feel in your body, especially compared to the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the like dare I say it is like a feeling of like lightness almost. Um, yeah, if like a feeling of like strange clarity also, right?
Yep.
This piece of the puzzle of thinking back on this exact moment to like no, it's like, yeah, I obviously was doing as much as I could for the information that I had with like what I knew at that time to do, and even the concept of like being scared of like the judgment of my parents of like, okay, they have to sign this and like they're gonna be so upset I got a D. It's like, well, they just that was just their belief was like, oh man, oh, well, the D is that means that he's gonna be a failure, right? And it's like this the dumbest idea that it's like just that system that was put into place, like whatever their beliefs were, that it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you have to get A's in order to be able to make something out of your life. It's like the stupidest thought that there is.
Yeah. 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 I feel it and I sense it on the video that you're more relaxed. And that
Oh
light
yeah.
clarity is very, very common response. And I'm confident the
Uh,
belief is gone permanently.
yeah.
And again, this is the I mentioned it briefly before, but this is the best way to explain that is the Santa Claus effect. Like we grow up and we believe, most of us, that Santa is real, and then at some
Mm,
point we have a moment and we recognize we don't actually have any evidence for it, and that you believed something. And then as soon as you recognize that you were fooling yourself, that you made it up in your head, basically,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's gone and you never believe Santa Claus is real again. It never comes back.
Yeah.
So we're just applying the same concept, same approach to
Interesting.
these core self-limiting beliefs. And we're just the reason it's permanent is because we got to the root of it and we unhooked the emotion from the thought, from the story, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
crux of it, recognizing, oh, you didn't see or feel the concept. You created the concept, added it on to the sense data, and then you conflated it all together. And that's why it's just been stuck ever since. So we just went back and we just asking questions
Yeah.
that are just Socratic and logical, never trying to make you believe something new or anything.
Yeah.
Just is it actually true? Objectively. Truth is truth. Oh no, I created a story. Oh. So
Like you said
that's
that.
why I'm
Yeah. It's just
confident
like
it's not coming back.
it's just objectively true. Exactly. I actually like that line of questioning at the beginning also. That's like, well, is it possible that this could
Yep.
have been the case? Yeah, it's possible. It's like, well, and great. And it's just like I said, objectively just the truth. And the way that you just put this also the Santa Claus effect. Uh, I think that relates a lot. I think a lot of people can make that correlation and now understand this. Like that was a belief until you understand. It's like, well, is it possible that this could be the case? Yes. Is it possible that this could be the case? Okay. Well, now is it possible that you created this and that's a belief that you just decided? Yeah. Great. I think you just let it go.
Yeah, it helps kind of just loosen the soil before we pull up the weed.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
because it can seem like if you don't do that part, I mean, that part's not always necessary, especially the more sort of experience you get with the process. You can, the parts of you know how it works and you can kind of expedite that process, but it
Mm,
really can help, I believe, to help just gradually loosen that up. And yeah, it's powerful. So thanks for being uh doing the demo for your podcast audience. I know that they appreciate it, and that's a courageous thing to do. I just want to reflect that.
Joel, I appreciate it. I really do, because now I understand this method of unlearning, right? And
Yeah,
exactly
subtraction.
what it means. Yeah, the power of subtraction instead of having to add on all of these affirmations and constant personal development learnings. It's like, you know what, let's
Yeah,
unlearn what's not serving us.
yeah, yep, yep. That's the thing. This is that's why I'm this following my bliss to create this business and share this with as many people as I can, and actually solve issues. And it's not to discount a lot of people who are doing different methods. Um,
Sure.
but what matters is really getting to the root.
Yeah.
And people often are struggling, and something like talk therapy, traditional talk therapy, can be very valuable depending on the type, perhaps. But there's just too many people who are spinning their wheels talking about the problems. I'm interested in solving problems fast, and so let's go.
Let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. Let's solve problems
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Let's do it.
Joel. I like it, man. Like you're making a big impact to actually solve problems, not just talk about them. Um, and so a little while ago, and in the beginning, you mentioned like so people can come connect with you on LinkedIn, but you also said that you generously want to help them with something else.
Yeah. So I feel a kindred spirit with like you and your podcast and like the show. Ever since I found the show, it was like I felt this good vibe. I think there's a lot of people that resonate with kind of similar value system, if you will. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I don't always do this, but I want to share with your audience the opportunity to do a gift belief session with me.
yeah.
And I'm interested in connecting with especially founders and entrepreneurs who are open to innovative approaches like this and open to looking in to the roots of their psyche. But as you just saw, it can be a very simple process. Um, so yeah, if you're interested, I am, as my calendar allows, giving away a gift belief session, and that means for about an hour we hop on the call and we talk about what is it that you desire and what do you want in life, and then what are these issues day to day, these patterns that are getting in the way, and then see if we can do an initial audit of what are the specific beliefs or the belief cluster of some stories, limiting stories that are causing and contributing to that daily suffering. And then we will round it out with a belief clearing session with one of those beliefs. So you can get a taste for it and experience it for yourself. Because, of course, if you just, I've just found in my experience with this, if you're just talking about it, that's why I offer the demo. I want people, I want to just, I just want to show this to people. I'm not trying to like just keep this a secret. I want people to learn this and I want people to taste it, so to speak. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, to be transparent, people who do the gift sessions with me sometimes often become clients as well. But this is a gift, no strings attached. So feel free to just connect with me. You can just find me on LinkedIn. Again, Joel Bein, Joel, B as in boy, EIN. Just search me up on LinkedIn, Joel Bein, founder at Human Liberation, and then just give me a connect request. And to keep it simple, if you want, you can just put the word gift in the note for the connect request. Or if you want to send me a custom message too, that's cool. But I'll know what you mean if you just say gift, keep it simple for you. And then I can send you over my calendar and we can find a time to do this. And yeah, I think that's it.
Joel, I appreciate it, my friend. Yeah, everybody go connect with Joel on LinkedIn. Get this gift belief session because I mean it feels to me like an actual gift that was just given. Uh,
Well, I do feel it in my heart, and I'm thinking about how I want to create this business. and what are the ways I want to do this. And I'm not gonna be able to do gift sessions forever, probably, but we'll see. And
Yeah.
ultimately, I want to, find new people that also want to learn how to do this and facilitate people to learn this. And I just want to share generously. And I just genuinely feel, for a while I was doing no gift sessions, and then I'm like, I want to do this again. And I just genuinely feel this heart-centered energy that's calling me to offer this. And I just trust that that is the thing to do.
Beautiful. Joel, I appreciate it so much. With the theme of the show being journey to legacy, right? I mean, it's very much about the journey. I don't necessarily believe that legacy is an end destination, but I like to always ask every entrepreneur that I speak with, like, what does legacy actually mean to you? Let's just start there. What does legacy even mean, Joel?
Wow, I love that. Wow. Well, part of me wants to say it doesn't need to mean too much. And following one's bliss is enough, I would say, without adding on any sort of meaning around making a mark beyond death or something like that. That can be extraneous in our own freedom. However, another part of me wants to say, wow, that's really compelling, this idea of legacy. And for me, what comes up is the idea of your soul's purpose, your full expansion of who you really are. And I think that's really what it's about. When you do that with this full expression, you follow the bliss, you create, you do something, you do meaningful, creative endeavors. And oftentimes that's going to mean helping people, impacting people, contributing. All these, I think, are core human needs. And if you just follow that bliss and that excitement, and your North Star is aliveness and flourishing, then the legacy speaks for itself. Like, the generosity becomes natural, authentic. The meaning, the impact, it's the byproduct. That's the way I would say it. It's the legacy is the byproduct of following your bliss. How about that?
Love that. Love that. That's actually an answer that I've never had before, right? The legacy that you create and leave will be a byproduct. It will thus be the impact, the byproduct of you following your bliss, chasing your own North Star.
Yeah, because the best thing you can do for other people is to be happy and work on yourself. And like, it's this symbiotic giving and receiving abundance mindset where you're fully flourishing for your own happiness, and as a byproduct, the best thing for your happiness is to also give and contribute to others as well, from like overflowing generosity. And so focusing on the bliss is not just, oh, I'm just gonna have my bliss by myself and I'm just a separate person. It's like, I think the actual highest expression of bliss includes that impact and that giving. So yeah, thanks for that question.
Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing, man, because I couldn't agree with you more, right? It's like, bliss is going to come from sharing it with other people, not just being by yourself and focusing on yourself, right? Help others, and it's going to make you more of a positive, blissful person as well.
Yep.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Joel, thank you once again. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the gift. Everybody, check out the show notes down below. There's links. Go follow Joel on LinkedIn. I'm super excited to be connected and to be a part of your journey.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
That's a wrap, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. How interesting is it that Joel talks about uncoaching and unlearning is his method to actually transform these inner critics, dare I say. He talks about the stories that we're telling ourselves, right? Get rid of these limiting beliefs, get rid of these old stories that we just told ourselves to become to become healthier, happier, more free, present, relaxed, open to new possibilities. I'm happy and proud to say that this limiting belief of mine that I'm not doing enough, you know how much I do? It's a lot. It's a lot. Come find me over on LinkedIn after you go find Joel and see how much I'm actually up to. Thank you all for being here again. Please go check out the show notes down below. Go connect with Joel. Get this gift belief session from him. It will be 30 minutes to an hour that is very well spent. Until next time, thank you all for being here. You have been listening to Journey to Legacy, and I will see you next week.